Welcome to the Entrepreneur Stories podcast. Jonathan Herps is your host. He is a strategic advisor, coach, and mentor to entrepreneurial founders, business owners, and CEOs. In this podcast, he chats with entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs of scaling companies. It centers around their entrepreneurial journey so far and their aspirations for their companies.
Hi there, it's Jonathan Herps again. Welcome back to my podcast, Entrepreneur Stories of Scaling Up. This is episode number 116, and today I'm talking with Chuong Mai-Viet. I hope I've got that right, Chuong.
Yep, that's good.
Managing Director of Fuse Technology. Welcome.
Thanks, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
And you. So, Chuong, why don't we just start a short potted history of your entrepreneurial journey and a little bit about your company.
Sure. Where do I start? Look, I started off life as a Microsoft engineer back in the 90s. I went to uni, tried to study mechanical engineering, found out that I liked computers more. Then I thought I'd become a computer programmer. Found out I didn't like that much, and ended up getting a job working for a reseller called Leading Solutions back in the day. And my first job was in the warehouse, putting in memory sticks and LAN cards and all those sorts of things, and kind of worked my way up and became a Microsoft engineer. Eventually landed at a company called Brennan IT, and basically spent 11 years working my way from a field engineer to eventually be the COO of the business for 11 years. And working for Dave Stevens was quite a journey. Learned a lot from him as a businessman. But after 11 years, it's time for a change. And I then kind of took a stint at a company called Ethan Group. I ran their managed services practice for 3.5 years. And after kind of working for people over that number of time, there was an opportunity to start a subsidiary of a UK business in Australia called Blue Source. And basically, I took a little bit of equity, I got a bit of a salary, and I started the business. And after about 3 years of kind of working for them, you realize that the business is built on you. And then I kind of took the opportunity to do basically a management buyout. I bought the majority of the shares. I had a couple of my colleagues that had joined me on the journey take a little bit of equity as well. And basically from that moment forward, we kind of bought the business. And then after a couple of years, COVID hit. We then decided to rebrand the business as Fuse Technology, and we are here today. So we're pushing on 40 odd staff, probably turn over $11 to $12 million this year. We've got locations in all around Australia, Perth, Melbourne, Brisbane. We've got some staff in New Zealand. We've just recently started up a UK office with one of my business partners, and Vietnam is now on our kind of side as well. So we've got 5 staff in Vietnam as part of our service desk, because we're kind of growing the business globally. So kind of taking the opportunity to get a centralized kind of service area out of Vietnam. Not only it wasn't about cost, it was about talent. Country of 100 million people, highly educated, very hard to find service desk staff in Australia these days. So we took the opportunity to go to Vietnam. So yeah, that's a bit of the history of how I got to where I am today.
Quite a story.
Yeah.
Now one of the 0.04% of companies that are your size in Australia.
Yeah,
so,
look, it's been quite a journey. You kind of, when you start, you don't know where you're going to end. Obviously, you have a view in your mind of what you want. But the reason I started this business and did what I wanted was, I'm a firm believer in, good people, good clients, doing the right thing. The growth and profit will come from doing the right thing. And that's what's happened. It's been a hell of a journey. And there's still bumps, and I still classify ourselves as a small business. I still have that startup mindset. We kind of scrap every day. We haven't every single dollar that we make, we invest back into the business for our growth. And that comes with its challenges, but it's been fun. It's definitely been fun.
No, well, look, seriously, congratulations. You're at a level that very, very, very few companies get to.
Yeah.
So let's take you back. So if you started from scratch, what aspects of personal leadership development would you prioritize now, or prioritize more?
Yeah, look, I think kind of one of the things that really I've learned a lot over both my journey at Brennan and now at Fuse is, really it's about growth in people. I found that, you have low staff turnover if your people are growing. People are not driven, well, some people are driven by money, but most people are driven by growth. They want to learn, they want to grow, they want to work with people they like. And one of the things that I'd really kind of focus on probably a bit more and get some better systems and processes in place is around the learning and the growth and the ability to promote from within. So, I would not hire some of the more expensive resources that I've had over the years. I would kind of take the longer term investment of hiring more junior people, training them up, spending more time on that, and really driving that kind of culture of success. And that is what I found has made the business sustainable in the long term. We've had low staff turnover, and we've got a great team, and it's all because of that focus on growing individuals. So yeah, like over the years, I've hired expensive sales teams, but I've got the two of the best salespeople I've ever had, and they both started as basically grads with us. And we took the long-term investment, and we've promoted them. So my grad that I hired 7 years ago is now my head of sales, and that kind of to me tells me what I should have done more of over the years.
Yeah, no, interesting lessons, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got a significant company that you're leading. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Yeah, look, I think it's tough. Like I've got 4 kids under the age of 11, so that doesn't make things any easier. Look, I have a great family. My wife is amazing. She kind of runs the household. I think we made the decision after the last child for her to stop working. I think that was the best decision ever. Financially, we were quite stressed at the time because you're starting a business up and you're losing an income. But the flexibility she gives me is great. I find that I have to, like, the great thing is being there. Like, you can work long hours, but you've got to be there for the important times. And, for me, it's, being there for breakfast and getting them off to school and having dinner with them every night at the dinner table and showing up to those events that are important. And then, everything else kind of, you make time for everything else. Some people, after a certain time at night will turn off. After I put my kids to bed, that's when I kind of check my emails and do some things that, can be done anytime. And I think, whilst COVID gave us a bit more flexibility, I've always been that way. I've always kind of been the person that has worked around my schedule. I've always put family first. And what I've realized is that if you do that, it actually makes more time for you. It gives you more flexibility, because when you have to travel, when you're overseas, like last year, I think I spent 6 or 7 weeks overseas. But my kids, they didn't see it because it was during the week when they were at school. My wife was there, and then when I was back, I was present. And I think that's a big thing. You got to be present when you're there. You can't be distracted.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've got 2, a 10-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and they're the same issues. But if you try and book, my clients know, unless it's desperately urgent, they'll never get me before 9:30 in the morning. I get the kids up. My wife goes to the gym and does all that stuff for herself. make sure they have breakfast, make their lunch, and I drop them to school, and then I go to the gym. But that morning, and I recently moved the office back to the house, and that way, when the kids come home from school, I'm here.
And I think those times are important, right? Because they're the times in which you interact. Like after school in the afternoon, everything's fresh in their heads. This is what happened at school. This is what is important. And in the mornings is the same thing. It kind of sets the day up. So for me, those things are important. The good thing is I'm an early riser, so I get up before everyone else and I get some work done, which is good as well.
Well, I'm not, but it's really interesting. It's about setting the priorities. I think so many entrepreneurs don't.
Yes, no, it's you're doing it for a reason, right? Like the reason I'm doing this is because one, I love what I do, but two, I'm setting the future up for my family. But there's no point setting a future up for your family if you're not there.
And you're not part of it. I totally agree.
That's right.
It's it's interesting. Here's a new hint that I've worked out yesterday. So my wife still works because she wants to. And school holidays, January in Australia is really hard, as you know. We're talking 7 weeks. How do you balance that up? So I did a deal with the daughter of a very dear friends of ours, and Annabelle. I paid her to come down. We're in Barrel, which is an hour and a half southwest of Sydney. I paid Annabelle to come down for 5 days. So and she, during COVID, I used Annabelle to help tutor the kids on. We're not paying her a lot, just what we paid in a tennis camp or something. And the three of them are having an absolute ball. But I've thrown some ideas, some conditions in. They've got to read for an hour, sort of stuff. And Annabelle's just starting at university this year, and I've just hired her as a tutor 1 day a week, going to Zoom in and tutor the kids in whatever, reading, maths, etc. And what a great way to, like Annabelle loves it. It's a great way to bond the kids with her. It's a great way of giving a young person, particularly my daughter, an opportunity to speak to a young person, 18, but still a young person. Outside of
absolutely.
And gives her some income. And it's a win-win-win-win-win solution.
Yeah, look, we do the same. We've got a young kid that tutors our two eldest kids in maths, and he comes around every Saturday morning, and he tutors them, and he gets fed lunch. He doesn't have a driver's license yet, so we pick him up and drop him off, but he's great. The good thing is we've got extended family, nieces and nephews that are older. We rope them in, do a sleepover. We'll feed you, and we'll get some mummy daddy time with our kids every now and again. So you just balance it all out. And the great thing is we've got the grandparents are still able. So, it does take a village to raise a family. And when you're an entrepreneur, the village becomes very important.
It does. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So tell me, you've got a significant staff now. What qualities do you look for in your employees, and how do you foster a positive culture?
Yeah, look, the most critical thing, and pardon my language, but I do have a no dickheads policy. So we have to like someone, right? And I don't care how good they are technically. If they're not someone that gels within our culture or is likable, they just will never fit in our business. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, I'm looking for people that want to learn and grow. I don't care if you don't have the answers today, but if you want to get the answers, if you've shown an ability to kind of learn, grow, we're not the type of organization that will hire someone to do the same job for the next 20 years. That's not what we're about. What we're about is hiring people that want a future, want growth, and that growth mindset is super important. So, that's been a key attribute. My head of people and culture. So, we're only 40 people, but I have a head of people and culture because, we've gone from 20 to 40 people in the last 2 years. And, without the right culture, without the right people, without the right leadership, the business just doesn't succeed. We are a people business. You can say what you want about AI, but ultimately someone's got to drive the AI, and you can't do it without the right people.
It's interesting you say that, because to me, as a scaling CEO, you've only got three things: strategy and communicate that strategy.
Yep.
Right people doing the right things, and having enough cash to grow. Those three.
Yep.
I was talking to a client of mine just a week before Christmas. Similar type of business to you. They're a same size AWS specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And the people and culture piece is a critical piece. And we were talking about a next client of mine. I won't say who they are, but IT, once again, Fortune 500, the APAC division. And quite unique, the managing director, who's phenomenal. This is a 900-person business, so significant business. He has a President's Award every year. And for and normally it's the top salesperson who gets it, but they take 60 people away, 5-star, 6-star resort, etc. During COVID, his people and culture lead won the President's Award twice.
Yeah.
Because she, and I'll mention her name, Maria Phillips, phenomenal woman and phenomenal leader. The way she prepared the business for COVID and then managed this significant multinational team for COVID, Mike gave her the President's Award twice. And I so often is people and culture, HR, if you prefer that, is so undervalued and not given the kudos. So well done.
No, 100%.
Totally agree with you. What do you reckon has been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
I think don't sweat the small stuff. I think for me over the years, sometimes you can get bogged down in the detail. You can get into analysis paralysis. I've learned that it's better to make mistakes quickly and learn and move on than sit there and dwell and make no mistakes. Mistakes are learning opportunities. And we've made some wrong decisions, we've made some wrong turns, but it's about how quickly you can correct a course. And you just have to make those decisions and take your medicine. I'm a golfer, and sometimes when you hit a ball under a tree, you can try to be a hero, or you can just take your medicine and move on and get back into it. And what I've learned over the years is to just take your medicine and get on with it. Don't beat anyone up over it. Don't sit there and dwell on it. Don't bring up the past. Just move on, because life's too short. That's been my biggest learning.
And you're absolutely right. It's as long as you learn from it.
Absolutely. Don't make the same mistake twice.
My experience, clients, over hundreds of CEOs I've coached. The ones who are more successful are the ones who've made more mistakes, because it means they're actually making decisions.
That's the big thing. You got to just make a decision and move on. We've hired some people, some managers who, they're great at what they do, but they'll just sit there and dwell on things, and you just have to give them a kick and say, you know what, there's no right or wrong. Let's just make a decision and move on, because when people are waiting for you, there's nothing worse. That'll slow down the business, right? And you can always correct course. But if you don't make any decision at all, you're never going to move forward.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So what are your main challenges now, Chuong, and what do you see as the main challenges going forward?
Yeah, look, I think for us over the next kind of 12 to 24 months is things outside of our control. We're lucky in that we have a diverse client base. We don't have any one client that makes up more than 10% of our revenue. We are predominantly in professional services and financial services. So it's relatively immune to big economic shocks. But what we can't control is their clients and what they're going through. So I think that's going to be, things like wars, things like natural disasters. We can't control those things. But from a growth perspective, from a new client perspective, I think we're doing the right things. I think scaling without dropping quality is the other thing. Like I still like to stay close to most of our clients, but I know we'll get to a stage where I just can't. And it's making sure that you have the right team that can kind of, have the canary in the coal mines, basically, to kind of give you the early warning signs when things aren't quite going the way that you want them to. But I think the biggest challenge is things outside of our control. Apart from that, we'll keep doing what we do. We've seen a bit of a delay in payments. There's some of our big clients that historically paid well have gone through, nothing earth-shattering, but challenges, and those kind of delays challenge us. But we've got good suppliers who are quite flexible. But you can't control things, right? Like that's the challenge.
Agreed. Tell me, when you think of the word successful, who comes within the business sense? Who comes to mind and why?
It's a good question. I'm successful business people. You know what? I think when I look at in our industry in particular, obviously I look at the big guys like Apple. I just the quality of their products, the execution. It's very rare that they miss shipping dates. It's very rare that they have big earth-shattering kind of problems within their products. They're the things that really are important to me. Like, I don't care if we're not the best in the world, but I care that we are the best at delivering, if that makes sense. I liken it. I tell my team, think of a restaurant. I'm not a fine dining restaurant, but nor am I, a low-end place where you walk in and you ask for a cup of water and 5 hours later someone shows up with a glass of water. I want to be that good, solid, dependable place that you can go to week in, week out. And I look at businesses that just deliver week in, week out, a good outcome, clients are happy. Yes, things happen, but from time to time, they just get on top of it and execute and change. And I look at, what Satya Nadella has done with Microsoft and how he's turned that company into, once again, someone quite dependable, right? Like, you used to roll your eyes when certain Microsoft products came out, or when they launched certain things, and you just weren't too sure, and they'd just be duds. It's very rare that we've had a dud from Microsoft recently. So I look at guys like Apple and Microsoft and just their ability to deliver week in, week out. They say they're going to do something and they do it. That's what's important to me.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
Are you a reader? Listen to podcasts? Any recommendations?
I do listen to podcasts, and I do read a fair bit of podcasts. I always find that some of the business podcasts interesting. I think the most recent read that I really enjoyed was Atomic Habits. That kind of helped me a lot, because I am not that person, and it kind of helped me get some discipline and structure into my life, and making habits easily accessible, those sorts of things has been a revelation to me. I love simple things like reading or listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger's kind of autobiography, and the Phil Knight Nike one, but even You Can't Hurt Me. That's Goggins. That was like a revelation to me. So yeah, they're just some of the ones, and then like the weekly podcasts. I do have a varied mix, but some technology podcasts. The Vergecast is one I like listening to, and then just for something totally different, I listen to the All In podcast, which is a VC podcast, which is interesting, mainly just because of the craziness of American venture capital and how they think. It's a different way of thinking from a business perspective.
Absolutely. Can I throw two back at you? Given
Yep.
the age of your kids, listen to a podcast called How Other Dads Dad.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, Hamish Blake, who's
Yes.
it is phenomenal.
All right. I have been kind of looking at it going, I should listen to that one.
Yeah, no, definitely. And go and listen to the Rob Stitch one.
Rob Stitch.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's number one.
Okay.
Another one, if you liked James Clear's Atomic Habits, go and buy a book by Marshall Goldsmith called Triggers.
Triggers. Okay.
Triggers is the book that I gave to all of my clients. Well, most of them, some still haven't received it, but I bought Triggers for all of my clients this year.
Okay, Triggers. I will add those to the list right now.
Yep, no, definitely do. Last question. Any last piece of advice or parting words for other entrepreneurs, or business owners looking to grow?
Yeah, look, I think one of the biggest things I've learned over the last few years is there are things that are just outside of your control. I've had some business partners go through marriage breakdowns. We've had COVID. We've had all sorts of things, right? And, as an entrepreneur, you've just got to remember to enjoy life. You can work hard. You can be single-minded in your focus on growing your business. But what's the point if you don't enjoy your life? And one of the things that I really want people to do is, realize that they're doing this. If you're doing it for yourself, that's great, but spoil yourself. If you're doing it for your family, it's great, but make sure you take care of your family, right? Like there's no point, being that guy, 20 years down the track when your kid turns around and says, "Oh yeah, dad built, a great success for our family, but I never saw him." What's the point? Why be a parent? And it's the same with your friends and family. Like, I think some people get so absorbed in their own life and their own success and their own growth that they forget what made them who they are. And for me, it's like I always make time for my family. I always make time for my friends. It is as important as making time for your work. So, for me, simple thing, I play golf every Friday morning, same group of mates. We tee off nice and early. We get done by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I can still work, But if I didn't have that, what's the point? Like, what are you doing it for? Like, by the time you have your kids, your family life, everything else, like, enjoy your life. So no matter what you do, I think you've got to enjoy it. And sometimes I think people get into the trap of, once I make it, I'll enjoy it. Well, you know what? Once you make it, you could be hit by a bus. You could have all sorts of things happen to you. You could go through a marriage breakdown because you didn't enjoy it and you broke something that was important. So I think one of the things that I really kind of truly believe in is you've just got to smell the flowers. Just got to enjoy life, no matter what you do.
So, I can't tell you how that advice resonates with me. And I particularly like the point about playing golf with your mates every Friday. During on a work day, you've got to come. One of the things I work really hard with my clients because they're all, busy entrepreneurs, and carving some time out for themselves is so critical. Not family, but for themselves.
Yeah, look, I love playing golf, but losing half a day on a Saturday or Sunday morning when my kids have got sporting events, and that's valuable time, right? And then, do I come into, I've worked for years, and I know that sometimes you come into the office and you'll just be like wasting time away doing things. Well, you know what? Taking a couple of hours out of your week to give some time back to yourself is so important. And the great thing about playing golf is that you can still do work, right? There's always a phone, and I'm playing with mates that are all entrepreneurs and business owners or partners at firms. You know what? Nothing stops you from answering your phone. So that's the beauty of it. But whether it be that or there's a lot of keen cyclists in the world. There's a lot of people that do all sorts of things. Just find a way of giving back to yourself. I think that's most important.
Yeah, I totally agree. What a great note to finish on.
Amazing. All
Thank
right.
you.
No, thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate the chat. It's always good to reflect on the journey, and it's hopefully some of your listeners and viewers can get something out of me.
Oh, look, I know they have, guaranteed. So thank you so much, Chuong.
Amazing. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you watch/listen. It helps this channel more than you know, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the learning gets. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in entrepreneur stories of scaling up. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please send an email to admin@scaleupgrowth.co. Put "be a guest" in the subject line and tell me a little about yourself. If you want to gauge where your business growth potential is and identify where the biggest opportunities in your business lie, or where the key needs that you need to concentrate on right now are, take our assessment where you will receive personalized advice for improvement. It's quick and free. Go to scaleupgrowth.scoreapp.com. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, I love coaching and get the best outcomes that way. Send me an email at jonathan@scaleupgrowth.co and put one-to-one in the heading. Tell me a bit about your business and let's see how we can apply a great strategy for your business. So that's it for this week. Tune in next time for more great learnings from a scaling entrepreneur.